The anime begins with the second prince, Kyle von Palestin, publicly ending his engagement to Scarlett L. Van Dimian in front of a large crowd. He announces that he will marry Terraneza Hopkins instead, claiming she is far more lovable than Scarlett. He then spreads lies, accusing Scarlett of bullying Terraneza at school, even though the two had never met before this moment. These false accusations are merely an excuse to cancel the engagement, and Terraneza supports his story without hesitation. Scarlett then asks for one final request. Kyle tries to refuse, but Terraneza urges him to grant the girl her last wish. As Scarlett steps forward, she clenches her fist and declares that she wants to beat up Terraneza. After this, the anime flashes back to Scarlett's childhood, explaining that her past is important to understanding her rage. One day, her brother Leonardo speaks to her after she beats up a boy. Scarlett claims she did it for a good reason, but Leonardo finds her smiling with the boy's blood on her face. He tells her she must act morally like a proper lady, especially since her official debut at a noble ball is coming soon. When the ball arrives, Scarlett meets her fiancé Kyle for the first time, and he is unbearable from the start. He constantly treats her poorly and openly bullies her. However, her family is powerless and cannot break off the engagement because they lack political influence. At 15, Scarlett enrolls in the Royal Academy for Nobles. She joins the elite program and quickly proves her intelligence by scoring the highest on the exams. Despite this, Kyle continues to harass her and treats her like a servant. One day, Kyle scolds her for failing to buy him lunch. He drags her to a secluded area and threatens to cut her hair with a knife. Just as Scarlett prepares to fight back, Kyle's older brother Julius drops down from a tree and reprimands him. Knowing he cannot stand up to Julius, Kyle quickly runs away. When Scarlett thanks Julius, he calmly remarks that he knows she was about to punch his brother. He explains that he usually avoids others during breaks and spends his time reading under trees, but now he has found something more interesting than books. His words, though spoken smoothly, leave Scarlett uneasy. From that point on, Julius starts competing with Scarlett for the top exam scores and surpasses her on his first attempt. Even when Scarlett trains harder and regains first place, rumors spread that Julius had intentionally held back to let her win. He also begins following her around and greeting her daily, despite her cold attitude. When she finally questions his behavior, he admits that he enjoys watching her facial expressions, saying she may think she hides her emotions well, but he can see right through her. As they continue talking, Scarlett realizes his true motive. He is deliberately keeping Kyle away from her. As her feelings slowly begin to change, Julius appears even more charming. With a smile, he calls her the most interesting animal he has ever seen. He says he cannot accept that his brother would throw someone like her away. Instead, he believes she should become his fiancée. Because of these two troublesome brothers, Scarlett's anger grows until she can barely contain it. Now, she is finally ready to release it. Back in the present, Scarlett throws a powerful punch straight into Terraneza's face, knocking her unconscious. But she does not stop there. The nobles present are all Kyle's supporters and share responsibility for her suffering, so she decides none of them deserve mercy. In moments, the elegant ball turns into pure chaos as Scarlett knocks down everyone in her path. Soon, only Kyle remains standing. She stares at him, and despite her brother trying to stop her, she delivers a devastating punch that sends Kyle flying into a concrete wall. Leonardo and Julius find Scarlett after she finishes beating Kyle and the nobles. They barely have time to speak before Scarlett suddenly feels dizzy and collapses. It turns out she pushed herself too far by using Chrono's blessing, a time-based magic she used to move at extreme speed. Scarlett wakes up at home to a strange sight, a maid attempting to assassinate her. The situation does not faze her at all. She casually punches the maid straight into the wall and then goes to meet Leonardo and Julius. They explain that her engagement has officially been cancelled and that Kyle has been stripped of his status. With his fall, it becomes easier to arrest many nobles from his faction, especially since they are deeply involved in illegal slave trading. However, one major problem remains: the leader of Kyle's faction, Prime Minister Godwin Carmen. To deal with figures like him, the king, Julius, and Leonardo have secretly created an organization called the Crown Investigatory Office. They then reveal the agent they planted inside the second prince's faction. The spy turns out to be someone Scarlett already knows: Sigurd Forgrave, a former academy student who always stood beside Kyle. Sigurd sincerely apologizes for how he treated Scarlett in the past. Amused, she decides to tease him. Remembering all the abuse he allowed Kyle to inflict on her, she pretends she is about to hit him. After sharing a laugh, she leaves. Scarlett heads to a cabin behind her house, where the fake maid is being held. When she arrives, she notices the ropes are undone, and suddenly a wild animal attacks her. Without hesitation, she strikes it hard on the head, causing it to revert back into the maid. The maid's name is Nanaka, and he is a beastkin. Scarlet notices a slave crest on his chest, proving he is bound to obey his master's orders. She proposes a deal. If she can free him, he must tell her everything he knows. She pins him to the ground and activates her time reversal magic, turning his body back to a state before the slave crest existed. Nanaka is shocked but deeply grateful. He then reveals that Godwin was behind the plan to assassinate her. Nanaka explains that Godwin attends a slave auction once every month, and the next one will take place in a week. Scarlet smiles, clearly excited at the thought of confronting him, and invites Nanaka to join her. Unbeknownst to them, Julius overhears the entire conversation from outside the cabin. 3 days later, the three of them set out to find Junk, a man who has information about the auction. While exploring the town, Scarlet buys a stone from a young boy, believing it to be a precious gem. She then asks Julius why he came along. He answers that he wants to see his country as it truly is, including its darkest sides, because only then can he become a good king. However, Scarlet knows he is lying and presses him again. This time, Julius tells the truth, admitting that he would never miss something this entertaining. Soon after, a group of gang members surrounds them. Nanaka tries to settle things peacefully, but Scarlet steps in when she hears they stole from the boy who sold her the stone. She activates her acceleration ability and overwhelms the gang in seconds. The last man panics and spills everything he knows about Junk to avoid further punishment. Even so, Scarlet beats him up anyway. When they finally meet Junk, Julius takes charge. Unlike Scarlet, who relies on brute force, Julius threatens him with a carefully crafted lie and extracts the information they need. Now, all that remains is finding a way to sneak into the auction. Scarlet meets Lord Zatharan, the contact that Junk leads them to. She pretends to be interested in taking part in the slave auction. Zatharan quickly notices Nanaka, who is with Scarlet, and realizes he is a beastkin. He assumes Nanaka is her slave and treats him with extreme disrespect. Scarlet forces herself to stay calm, knowing that if she lashes out, she will ruin their plan. By the end of their conversation, Zatharan explains that it could take a long time for her to be officially approved for the auction. However, he offers to introduce her as a visiting relative instead. In return, he demands that Nanaka be handed over and placed into the auction. Scarlet agrees to his terms. After they leave, Nanaka tells Scarlet not to worry, saying that Zatharan likely will not harm him. Being a nocturnal beastkin, he is already exhausted, so he transforms into his animal form and falls asleep in her arms. When they return to their hotel, Julius is waiting for them. As a prince, he cannot risk attending meetings connected to slave trading. Since Nanaka is asleep, he and Scarlet go out together to explore the merchant district. As usual, Julius spends the entire outing teasing Scarlet. Still, he gives her a slice of apple pie, which helps calm her down. When they sit and talk, Julius becomes unusually serious. Growing up in his environment, he has always been drawn to ugly and cruel truths. He recalls a moment from childhood when he tried to help Scarlet after witnessing Kyle bully her. Instead of fear, she showed a confident and dangerous smile and said she was not afraid of Kyle at all. After telling her this, Julius kisses her on the cheek and explains that his feelings are not the typical kind of romantic love. Even so, she is extremely important to him. When Scarlet returns to her room, she wonders if this was just another one of his tricks to tease her. Later, Scarlet returns to Zatharan's office, where Nanaka changes into his beast form, ready to be taken away. A massive warrior-like man appears, Donovan, another beastkin, and Zatharan's personal bodyguard. Contrary to expectations, Donovan shows no kindness toward Nanaka and even injures him as he drags him away. When Donovan raises a whip to strike Nanaka, Scarlet grabs it and taunts him. Zatharan tries to warn her that interfering will end badly, but it is already too late. Donovan is furious. The beastkin tries to pull the whip from her hand and attack her, but he fails. Scarlet's grip is so strong that he cannot free it no matter how hard he tries. Instead, Scarlet yanks the whip, lifts Donovan off the ground with ease, and punches him straight in the chest. The blow sends him flying through the wall and out of the building. As Scarlet leaves the scene, Leonardo is waiting for her. He arranges a meeting with her and Julius and firmly tells her that he does not want her involved anymore. Scarlet refuses to back down. She argues that many nobles commit horrific crimes like slave trading and boast about it because they believe they are untouchable. And most of the time, they are right. Normal methods cannot punish them. That is exactly why punching those greedy nobles feels so satisfying. Leonardo is stunned by her words but continues the meeting. He reveals that Godwin is secretly in talks with the Vanquish Empire, a nation famous for its powerful dragon riders. At the same time, Godwin is holding his own meeting with one of those dragon riders. He asks the man to deal with Scarlet for him. Unexpectedly, Terraneza is also present, and she brings a gift. She presents the dragon rider with a weapon that can solve all his problems, a gun. Scarlet and Zatharan arrive at the auction. Unbeknownst to him, Leonardo and several soldiers are already waiting nearby for Lucius's order to raid the building. While the guests openly discuss the slaves they want to buy in disgusting ways, Scarlet meets with Lucius. She asked him not to give Leonardo the signal yet because she wants to beat the nobles herself and capture Goldwyn personally. Lucius agrees, but only under one condition. Scarlet must pledge her life to him directly, not to the crown. She hesitates, but eventually accepts. After that, the two of them begin searching for Goldwyn together. Meanwhile, the auction begins. An avian slave is brought onto the stage. Behind the curtains, guards drag out an elven woman who will be sold next, while her daughter cries as she watches. Nanaka holds the child and gently tells her that everything will be okay. Before entering the room where she believes Goldwyn is hiding, Scarlet encounters several guards. This does not trouble her at all. Smiling, she puts on her gloves and knocks them down one by one. When she opens the door, Goldwyn is inside with his son and several other nobles. His son immediately attacks her with lightning magic, but Lucius cancels the spell. Because Lucius wears the royal seal, a ring that can nullify any magic cast within the kingdom, the nobles cannot harm him with spells. Seeing a prince in front of them, the nobles panic. Still, they convince themselves that Lucius must be a fake and order Donovan to attack the intruders. However, they underestimate how many enemies they are facing. Just as Donovan prepares to strike, Sigurd appears and slashes both of his hands. When Sigurd moves to attack the nobles next, Scarlet stops him and says they are her targets. Sigurd focuses on Donovan, while Scarlet turns her attention to the guests. She grabs one noble by the arm and spins so fast that it feels like a small tornado forms. One after another, the nobles are thrown out of the room through the windows. Leonardo and his soldiers arrive and are shocked by the sight of Scarlet laughing as she violently beats the nobles and piles them up. Still, they have other priorities. Leonardo activates his clairvoyance and searches for Goldwyn, only to see the worst outcome. A dragon rider is helping him escape. Scarlet immediately kicks off her shoes and activates her strongest acceleration ability. In an instant, she reaches the rooftop, where Goldwyn is almost gone. Then something unexpected happens. Goldwyn and his son insult the vanquished warrior helping them, injuring him. He orders his dragon to attack, but Scarlet lands on Goldwyn's son and stops the strike. Impressed by her strength, the warrior suddenly proposes to Scarlet. She rejects him and punches him aside. However, no matter how many times she hits him, he keeps getting back up. This is because he carries a blessing from the god of steel, granting him an invincible body. Still, Scarlet realizes he is not truly loyal to Goldwyn. He is Alflame Vanquish, the first prince of the Vanquish Empire, and his real goal was to obtain the noble's secrets. Now that Goldwyn is no longer useful, he plans to kill him. Scarlet refuses to allow that. Goldwyn is her prey. She grabs Alflame by the head and repeatedly knees him until she grows tired. He remains unharmed but becomes extremely nauseous. To end the situation, she uses acceleration on him and sends him flying back to his homeland. At last, Scarlet stands alone with Goldwyn. Before she attacks him, he confesses the truth. He used Terraneza to break off her engagement with Kyle, but the plan was never his idea alone. Terraneza was the one behind it all. She is a person from another world who is reincarnated by the power of a goddess. We see Lord Zatharan rushing toward the area where the slaves are kept. He cannot believe how badly things have gone, but he thinks that if he can escape with Nanaka, it will all be worth it. Unfortunately for him, Sigurd and several soldiers arrive at the same time and arrest him. Meanwhile, Scarlet listens as Goldwyn tries to explain Terraneza's situation. However, she quickly cuts him off, admitting that she does not understand anything he is saying. Instead of listening further, she moves straight to violence. Scarlet activates a power that slows time to 1/100th its normal speed for everyone except herself and begins her revenge. She repeatedly punches and kicks Goldwyn for all the people he hurt, for Nanaka, and for herself. When time returns to normal, Goldwyn feels every blow at once and crashes into the wall. Afterwards, Scarlet collapses to the ground. Her knuckles bleed heavily, and part of her hair turns black. Clear signs that she has overused her blessing. Lucius rushes forward and catches her, holding her close as the others arrive. However, the danger is not over. Goldwyn suddenly stands up and shoots Scarlet with the gun Terraneza gave him. Lucius jumps in front of her and takes the bullet instead. Goldwyn celebrates, believing he has killed the prince. Even though Scarlet can barely move, she lunges forward and punches him in the face. She soon realizes that Goldwyn is using an amulet that helps him endure her attacks. Scarlet rips it from him and uses it to beat him again. When she finally stops, she looks to the sky and declares that she has avenged Lucius. Thankfully, Leonardo's healing magic keeps him alive. With everything settled, Scarlet returns home. To Nanaka's surprise, Goldwyn survives as well, though he is completely wrapped in bandages. Even so, it is a major victory for Scarlet. She gets her revenge, earns a new nickname, the kingdom's iron-fisted savior, and gains a new companion, Rex the dragon. Far away, however, something far darker unfolds. Terraneza sneaks into the prison and meets Godwin again. When he begs her to free him, she uses the blessing of the goddess Palmia on him. Godwin loses his ability to think for himself and drinks a bottle she hands him. Within minutes, he dies before anyone can save him. As Terraneza walks away, she reflects that her only remaining enemy is the villainous Scarlet Elvandimian. Later, Lucius speaks with Nanaka, Sigurd, and Leonardo about the growing influence of Palmianism. It is a religion devoted to Palmia, the goddess of beauty and love, and has recently become the kingdom's official faith. What they do not know is that Terraneza manipulated Godwin into making that happen. At the same time, Scarlet enjoys a peaceful tea with her school friends, Envy and Madeleine. They chat about random topics, showing that both girls share some similarities with Scarlet. The mood shifts when Lucius interrupts them. Envy and Madeleine immediately get excited to see him and happily allow him to speak with Scarlet in private. Scarlet, however, silently labels them traitors for abandoning her so easily. Lucius then tells Scarlet about Godwin's death and admits that he cannot find any information on Terraneza's whereabouts. Soon after, he returns to his usual teasing. He places a crown of roses on Scarlet's head and says he wants to be with her forever. Blushing, Scarlet begins to think he is proposing, until he calls her his favorite toy. Instantly furious, she puts on her gloves and asks if she can punch him. Scarlet reflects on Terraneza and the growing influence of Palmianism. Around this time, she also receives a letter from her friend, Saint Diana, who is the religious leader of another faith. The letter invites Scarlet to come see her, and Scarlet quietly promises herself that she will protect Diana no matter what. To avoid suspicion, Scarlet tells her brother that she is going on a hot spring trip, so he will not question her plans. However, with Nanaka's help, Leonardo realizes that she is actually joining a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. After arguing for a while, Leonardo finally allows her to go. Soon after, Scarlet meets Prince Julius, and the two travel together to visit Diana. When they reach their destination, trouble immediately awaits them. The gate is shut, as the Pope has ordered that no one may enter without royal approval. A man named Jarmov, who calls himself an inquisitor of Palmianism, blocks their path. He threatens Scarlet and Lucius with a massive hammer and warns them to leave. What he does not realize is that he is provoking the wrong person. As usual, Scarlet puts on her gloves and simply pushes the gate, completely destroying it. When Jarmov tries to strike her, she grabs a spear and sends the spiked ball of his hammer flying back at him. Jarmov survives thanks to an amulet blessed by Palmia, allowing him to stand back up almost instantly. But Scarlet already knows how to deal with that. Before he can react again, she smashes him with a powerful blow and sends him soaring through the sky. Soon after, several soldiers who followed Dianism arrive and apologize for being late. Among them is one man who stands out for his carefree personality and who immediately falls for Scarlet. This new admirer is Dios Westwood, the head knight of the Holy Order. He openly flirts with Scarlet, which clearly irritates Lucius. Later, Scarlet and Lucius finally meet Saint Diana. She is a small girl who openly dislikes the prince but adores Scarlet, constantly trying to hug her. Her power is inherited through generations and is responsible for maintaining the barriers that protect the kingdom from demons. The pilgrimage exists to restore those barriers. However, Diana has lost her saint power, and Julius bluntly points this out. He coldly states that since she no longer has her ability, she should continue serving as a figurehead, or else she has no real value. Diana's expression hardens as she pretends not to care, but she quietly leaves afterward. Everyone can tell she was only putting on a brave face. Scarlet, meanwhile, is furious at Julius for treating her so cruelly. Later that night, Scarlet visits Diana and shares stories about her adventures, inspiring the young saint. Eventually, bedtime arrives and Scarlet prepares to leave so Diana can rest. Before she goes, Diana explains that many saints take the name Diana because it belonged to the first saint. Her father once suggested the name Saint Sanya, and she loved it. She asks Scarlet to call her that, and Scarlet agrees. The next day, the pilgrimage begins. At first, everything proceeds smoothly, until loud noises suddenly echo through the area. Scarlet quickly realizes the sounds are coming from the Palmian Cathedral, so she activates her power and rushes toward it. Without hesitation, she smashes one of Palmia's statues and catches the spear it is holding. Now fully prepared, Scarlet declares that she will beat the goddess's followers until they finally understand what they are doing wrong. Scarlet destroys part of the building, causing a massive explosion. Even so, none of the Palmian followers inside are injured. They are shocked to see that Scarlet is the one attacking them, but they quickly stop caring. Their confusion turns into excitement as they call for one of their leaders, Kitarl the Wise. Keitarl acts arrogantly and breaks down in tears when he sees Scarlet holding the head of Palmia's statue. However, his anger leads nowhere as Scarlet defeats him almost instantly. All he can do afterward is cry about how hard they tried to stop the Dianan festival and still failed. The rest of the group then rushes towards Scarlet, foolishly believing they can defeat her. By the time the city guards arrive, Scarlet has already taken care of everything. When she returns to the festival, the atmosphere is peaceful once again. Suddenly, Diana's palanquin breaks and she begins to fall. Thankfully, Leonardo rides in at full speed and catches her before she hits the ground. Afterward, he scolds Scarlet for lying about the hot spring trip. She tries to make excuses, but they fail, so she finally tells him the truth. She explains that she was asked to help with the pilgrimage because of her blessing. Leonardo understands and stops lecturing her, but he reminds her that she does not have to handle everything alone. She can rely on him when needed. Later, Diana's attendants ask Scarlet for help, saying the girl is acting strangely. Scarlet immediately understands when she sees Diana blushing and giggling to herself. After talking with her, Scarlet realizes that Diana has fallen in love, with Leonardo, no less. Scarlet approves, saying her brother is a good man and promising to help her. When they reach the first destination of the pilgrimage, everyone relaxes and enjoys the hot springs. Scarlet explains her plan to Diana. She will dress normally and ask Leonardo to spend time with her that night. Scarlet also asks Nanaka, who has been secretly watching her on Leonardo's orders, to protect Diana. The plan moves forward and works perfectly. However, it only succeeds because Scarlet had already spoken to her brother in private. She told him that Diana deserves a chance to live like a normal girl and asked him to accept if she invited him out. After that, Scarlet heads into town. As expected, Julius soon appears to tease her. He is surprised to see her wandering around, but she explains that she has a goal. She wants to find a strong adventurer to fight. Luckily, she quickly finds a group of violent adventurers causing chaos in the city. She wastes no time, punching one of them before he even notices her and preparing to take on the rest. Meanwhile, Leonardo spends time with Diana. She struggles to catch a goldfish, so he gently guides her hands and helps her succeed. They continue playing games and eat together. Diana even convinces him to wear matching cat headbands with her. Still, she feels like he is only looking after her as if she were a child. When she asks whether he sees her that way, Leonardo apologizes and admits that she reminds him of Scarlet when she was younger. This confuses Diana, since she believes Scarlet is far more beautiful and amazing than she is. Leonardo tries to correct her thinking, but a knight suddenly arrives to warn him about Scarlet's fight. He immediately rushes off to help his sister. Left behind, Diana feels sad, believing she can never be as incredible as Scarlet. Elsewhere in the city, the knights continue their patrols, but Dios becomes separated from the group. He pulls out a mysterious piece of paper and disappears. At the same time, a Palmian inquisitor approaches Alflame and asks for his help with an unknown matter. The Palmian followers are furious that the pilgrimage is succeeding. However, their leader Pope Sargon tells them to calm down, reminding them that they have a spy hidden among the Dianists. Meanwhile, Scarlet's group arrives at the Holy Gem of Memphis. Leonardo is shocked to see how badly corruption has already spread through it. At the same time, he uncovers another truth, one connected directly to his sister. Although it was not always the case, the protectors of Palestine have long operated as a pair. One protector acts openly, while the other remains hidden from the public. That secret role now belongs to Scarlet. She wears saintly garments to shield herself from impurities and uses her power to reverse time around the gem. Before long, the holy gem is restored to how it looked in the past. Diana feels discouraged, realizing she cannot contribute anything to the pilgrimage anymore. Scarlet promises her that she will find a way to restore her powers. Nearby, Deos watches everything closely. That night, Sigurd contacts Prince Julius and confirms that there is indeed a spy among their group. Worse, there may be more than one, and he has no idea who they are. The group later reaches Snowend, a city where snow falls all year round. Scarlet complains non-stop about the cold. They expect a warm welcome at the Count's estate, but that hope quickly disappears. The Count is fully converted to Palmianism and refuses to allow the pilgrimage to continue there. To make things even worse, he introduces the new Palmian saint, Tereneza. Tereneza happily greets Scarlet, calling her a villainess. She then activates her charm, releasing a mist that places every man who inhales it under her control. The soldiers of the pilgrimage manage to cover their noses in time, but the Palmian followers do not. Immediately, they turn on Scarlet and her companions, attacking them on Tereneza's command. This time, however, the enemy comes prepared. One spell prevents Scarlet from speaking, while others summon chains to restrain her body. It appears to be the perfect plan. That would be true if Scarlet had not anticipated it. She already knew such magic would be her weakness, so she prepared a counter. Her earrings deactivate the spells, freeing her completely. She then begins a brutal, one-sided assault. Scarlet overwhelms everyone in the room and reaches Terneza before she can react. However, Terneza also has a backup plan. She suddenly activates Diana's barrier to shield herself. At that moment, Deos reveals his true allegiance and takes Diana hostage. He demands that Scarlet let Terneza go. With no other choice, Scarlet agrees. Using magic, the two villains escape and vanish. Exhausted from overusing her powers, Scarlet falls asleep. During her rest, she receives an unexpected visitor, Chrono, the being who granted her blessing. Chrono explains that the goddess Palmia is the mastermind behind everything. She loves him and grows jealous of those who receive his gifts, namely Scarlet and Diana. Using her own hair, Palmia created Tereneza's vessel and stole a soul from Earth to carry out her plan. 1 year earlier, she used Tereneza to steal Diana's powers. Fortunately, Chrono possesses an artifact capable of restoring them. He also strengthens Scarlet's blessing even further, returning her hair to white and greatly increasing her power. Now stronger than ever, Scarlet awakens, ready for the next battle. 7 years ago, Sanya falls asleep while listening to her mother tell the story of Saint Diana. That night, she dreams that the current saint grants her divine powers. When she wakes up, she is shocked to discover that the dream has come true and that she truly has those powers. At first, Sanya is overjoyed, but her happiness does not last long. After she tells the people in her village, they begin treating her differently. They stop calling her Sanya and see her only as the new Saint Diana. Before long, the Dianan clergy arrives to take her away. The only bright spot during this time is meeting Scarlet. Diana quickly becomes close friends with her and learns a great deal by watching how Scarlet works as a saint. Even so, Diana constantly feels inferior, believing she can never be as perfect as Scarlet. Scarlet strongly disagrees. To her, Diana possesses a rare gift, the ability to make people smile naturally, and that is something no one can ever be taught. Back in the present, Diana visits Scarlet, who is still unconscious. Julius is furious with her, as he knows she betrayed them. Diana tries to explain why she secretly gave information to the Palmians, but before she can speak, a massive explosion of light interrupts them. Tereneza and her soldiers are destroying the holy gem that Scarlet had just restored. As if that were not bad enough, Tereneza captures Nanaka, who had been secretly watching the area, using her blessing. After the gem is destroyed, thousands of monsters pour out into the nearby forest. Prince Julius gathers his troops and orders an immediate evacuation of the city. Soon after, Sigurd arrives with even worse news. The kingdoms of Falconia and Eldrand have officially declared war. Meanwhile, Sanya remains in Scarlet's room and is suddenly visited by Dios. She remembers the real reason she betrayed Dianism. When she lost her powers, the clergy abandoned her, leaving her feeling completely worthless. That was when Dios approached her with an offer. He promised that Palmia would restore her powers if she provided 1 year's worth of information. Sanya accepted, but only after making him swear that her friends would not be harmed. Now, she realizes how foolish that choice was. She pulls out a knife to protect both herself and Scarlet. However, she is no match for a trained warrior, and Dios easily knocks her to the ground. Just in time, Scarlet awakens and sends him flying away with her newly strengthened powers. Elsewhere, Jill, the vice-captain of the Vanquish Empire, meets Julius and hands him a letter written by Prince Elflame. As Julius reads it, he is left completely stunned by its contents. Later, Scarlet confronts Dios again. He is alive but tied up in the middle of a forest. Scarlet remembers seeing him try to save Sanya earlier when she almost fell from a platform, so she knows there is more to him than simple betrayal. Dios then reveals the truth. He is Sanya's half-brother. Although he only recently learned this himself, his feelings are genuine. Everything he has done was for her sake, believing that Palmia would truly restore her powers. Even after hearing his confession, Scarlet does not trust him. Words alone are not enough. She tells him that if he wants her trust, he will have to prove his loyalty through action. Scarlet reflects on everything that happened while she was asleep. Soon after, Prince Julius appears and starts teasing her as usual. However, she finds this strange, since he was not supposed to be there. She decides to tease him back, treating him like a pet. When he lets his guard down, she knocks him out. Suddenly, his body changes and turns into Nanaka. It turns out Tereneza sent him, disguised as Julius, just to mock Scarlet. Once Nanaka returns to normal, he and Scarlet head to a meeting with Julius, Leonardo, and the Knights. Julius delivers a series of troubling updates. Nearly 50,000 monsters are gathering, far more than their army can handle. Worse, the creatures are all moving toward the capital, as if something is drawing them in. On top of that, 2 neighboring kingdoms have declared war against them. Thankfully, Julius also brings good news. He opens the door, revealing a flame and Jin. With no better option, Julius has formed an alliance with the vanquished prince. Most people are unhappy with this decision, but they accept that it is their best chance to survive. Jin understands how difficult the situation is and shares information about one of the enemy kingdoms. That kingdom's military strength is weak and includes many beastkins, meaning Nanaka may be able to negotiate with them. Since Dios is skilled at manipulation, he joins Nanaka to assist with the mission. A flame also brings several dragons from an elite vanquish unit. He is confident they can wipe out the monsters using overwhelming firepower. In exchange, a flame asks for future support. His kingdom chooses its ruler through combat, so even as a prince, he must fight for the throne. He wants their help to win that battle. With plans set, everyone begins preparing for their missions. Naturally, Scarlet refuses to stay behind. Without telling anyone, she plans to fight the monsters herself. She mounts Rex, the dragon she defeated earlier, and reunites with a Flame and his soldiers. Together, they fly toward the monsters and easily overwhelm them with fire attacks. Scarlet even jumps into battle without Rex, defeating several trolls on her own. They are so weak compared to her that she mocks them, even dancing with one of the monsters while fighting. Suddenly, a group of soldiers rushes in asking for help. One of their comrades has been kidnapped by a powerful monster that even defeated their dragon. This excites Scarlet, who believes she has finally found a real challenge. They reach the monster's territory and discover a massive humanoid pig surrounded by smaller creatures like itself. To the soldier's shock, the monster can understand and speak human language. Even so, it does not intimidate Scarlet. She charges forward and slices off its head, or so she thinks. The creature can move its head anywhere on its body and switches it with a chunk of flesh. Scarlet activates acceleration and punches the monster hundreds of times, yet it keeps standing. As it prepares to spit acid at her, Rex snaps its neck, causing the acid to splash onto the other pigs instead. Scarlet then reveals the truth. She had used her power so that all her punches strike the monster at the same moment. The creature suddenly feels the full impact of countless blows and collapses to the ground. With the monster defeated, Scarlet receives urgent news of another crisis. Using a wind spirit, Deus contacts her and reports that negotiations with Falconia have failed and that he and Nanaka cannot resolve the situation peacefully. Dios and Nanaka try to figure out how to cross the forest to reach the enemy and begin negotiations. Their allies are turning the battlefield into complete chaos, so simply walking through is not an option. That is when Scarlet arrives, having received Dios' message. She quickly understands the situation and searches for Alflame, who is casually fighting monsters nearby. Once she reminds him of the plan, he leaps off his dragon and ignites his own body in flames. He slams into the ground like an explosion and begins charging across the battlefield, slaughtering monsters as he goes. With this massive distraction in place, Deus and Nanaka use the opportunity to slip away and locate the Falcomian army. While traveling alone, Nanaka admits that he still does not trust Dios. However, he chooses to work with him out of respect for Scarlet, since she trusts Dios despite everything he has done. Suddenly, Deus raises his sword as if to strike Nanaka, but instead, he slices an incoming arrow in half. Nanaka does the same with his knife. They quickly realize that Falconian soldiers are already nearby and that they are under Tyranneza's control. At that moment, the elven chieftain appears and rescues them. His original goal is only to evacuate his people, but Deus convinces him to assist with the negotiations. In return for stopping the Falconian forces, Deus grants the elf his wind powers. Elsewhere, Scarlet uses her abilities to heal Alflame and then joins Prince Lucius for a strategy meeting. Soon after, they receive word of Dios and Nanaka's success, bringing them one step closer to resolving the conflict. However, Eldrin still refuses to stand down. In response, Alflame approaches Scarlet and invites her to return to his homeland with him. He is preparing to leave after fulfilling his side of the alliance, but she insists on going along. Prince Julius immediately objects, stating that she cannot go with Alflame. Instead of reacting with anger, Alflame appears pleased, amused by the idea of having a rival. Later, Julius, Scarlet, and Leonardo discuss the situation. Eldrin is not attacked yet, but their army has also not withdrawn. They believe the enemy is waiting for Tyraneza to make her next move. Fortunately, Dios knows where she is headed. Tyraneza is still following her original plan and is traveling to Sahasgalia, where another holy gem is located. Although Scarlet's group is far away, they may still arrive in time. Tyraneza needs several days to recharge her power before she can destroy another holy gem. Lucius plans to bring Diana along on the mission to Sahasgalia, a decision Dios strongly disagrees with. However, Diana is determined to help in any way she can. Scarlet then reveals how Diana can regain her powers. She shows them a special clock that she plans to activate in front of Terraneza, allowing Diana to recover her ability. With that power restored, they will be able to protect the Holy Gem. Meanwhile, Terraneza argues with the goddess Palmia. She is furious that her plans are starting to fall apart, but Palmia remains indifferent. In fact, the goddess is still pleased with her choice of Terraneza as her pawn. Both of them know that Scarlet and the others are coming. Terraneza remains committed to killing them and has already prepared a trap. Nanaka is secretly under her control, and while Lucius sleeps, Nanaka appears and uses her power to charm him. Scarlet and her group reach Terraneza's hideout. The entrance is a narrow tunnel, so Rex the dragon has to stay outside. As they move inside, Scarlet hears a voice call her master and wish her good luck. The hideout is filled with deadly traps that would terrify any normal person. Scarlet, however, treats them like toys and destroys them with ease. Thanks to her, the group quickly reaches a large hall packed with Palmian followers. They expect their enemies to be exhausted and broken, but instead find them in perfect condition. One of the Palmian adherents has the ability to weaken people's physical strength. His power even stops Scarlet for a short time, but only because she hesitates, afraid of hurting an old man. Once she realizes how strong he actually is, she knocks him out with a single blow. The Holy Order stays behind to fight the remaining Palmian soldiers, while Scarlet and the Prince move ahead to confront Terraneza. However, their path is blocked by a strange and flamboyant man whose presence is almost impossible to sense. Lucius decides to stay behind and fight this man, allowing Scarlet to move forward alone. The enemy summons a massive sword, a magical weapon that seems connected to his mysterious ability. Scarlet soon finds Terraneza and immediately attacks her. To her surprise, Terraneza takes the hit without a scratch. Rather than being discouraged, Scarlet is pleased. This means she can vent even more of her anger. Meanwhile, Leonardo helps the Holy Order organize their defense, but the Palmian forces are overwhelming in number. One of them fires an arrow towards Saint Diana, forcing Dios to jump in and take the hit for her. Thankfully, the wound is not fatal, and he continues fighting. The battle soon turns in their favor. Scarlet pushes her powers beyond their limits, moving faster than ever. She grabs Terraneza by the neck before the villainess can activate her barrier. Then, Scarlet uses Chrono's clock to restore Diana's powers. With Diana's strength returned, the Holy Order regains momentum and crushes the Palmian soldiers. At the same time, Prince Julius defeats the Inquisitor with a rapid series of sword strikes. Unfortunately, this outcome is exactly what Terraneza planned. When Nanaka used her blessing on Julius earlier, it weakened his resistance to Terraneza's charm. Without realizing it, Julius's opponent has been opening a portal that releases more of Terraneza's charm into reality. At last, the influence becomes strong enough to affect him. Scarlet believes she is close to victory when Julius suddenly steps in to protect Terraneza. He behaves as irritating and sarcastic as ever, yet strangely acts as though he is still on Scarlet's side. That does not trouble her at all. Terraneza seems to think this will shake Scarlet's resolve, but instead it creates the perfect opening. Scarlet punches Julius and sends him flying, smiling as she follows up with another strike. Scarlet punches Julius straight in the face, completely shocking Terraneza. However, the prince quickly proves to be the strongest opponent Scarlet has faced so far. She breaks his wrist, but he heals it instantly and tries to cast a spell at her. Scarlet jumps back, activates her speed ability, and strikes him again. Even during the fight, Julius keeps flirting with Scarlet, which only fuels Terraneza's anger. Back in school, Terraneza had no friends and constantly envied popular people. Watching the two of them flirt while fighting brings back those bitter memories. For the first time, Terraneza points her lance at Julius and threatens to kill him. Scarlet finally stops moving, giving the villainess the chance to activate a power that steals her enemy's abilities. After that, Scarlet surrenders and allows Terraneza to do as she wishes. Terraneza orders Julius to restrain Scarlet, but instead of hurting her, he simply hugs her tightly. This enrages Terraneza even more, so she mocks Julius and his blessing heroic tale. This ability grants him endless power to protect the person he loves, but only if that love is returned. Both Julius and Scarlet immediately deny loving each other. However, realizing this is their only way out, Scarlet admits her feelings and kisses him. At that moment, a massive wave of power bursts from Julius, freeing them both. Furious, Terraneza screams about how no one has ever loved her. Palmia then appears and takes her side. The goddess's black dress wraps around Terraneza, almost as if it is possessing her and stripping away her control. Terraneza fires a devastating beam that could have erased Scarlet and Julius, but Julius's blessing easily blocks it. He then pushes Scarlet aside and strikes Terraneza repeatedly. Overloaded with Palmia's power, Terraneza is close to death. Still, Scarlet is not delivered the punch she truly wants to give. She gathers even more magic and hits Terranezza with overwhelming force, sending her flying through the roof and vanishing into the sky. From that point on, things finally improve. With her powers restored, Diana repairs the final barrier, putting an end to the monster threat. That night, Scarlet notices Dios leaving the celebration early. Julius is assigned him as an intelligence agent, meaning he may be gone for a long time. Knowing this, Diana approaches him, reveals that she learned they are half-siblings, and thanks him for saving her. Dios is clearly happy, but he hides it by teasing Diana and gently playing with her hair. Before leaving, he tells Scarlet that he expects a date when he returns. The next day, Scarlet meets with Leonardo, who tells her that Palmianism has completely collapsed. After seeing Saint Diana use her blessing, the followers abandoned the faith. They also discuss Julius's blessing, and Scarlet begins to wonder if everything, including Julius being charmed, was part of a plan to force her confession. The thought infuriates her. In response, Scarlet grabs Rex and heads to another celebration event hosted by Julius. He teases her again, even teaching her how to kiss better. This only makes Scarlet angrier, and she prepares to punch him straight in the face. And that's how the season ends. Let me know what you think about this anime, and as always, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in the next video.